Hi, my name's Jack Soul. Thanks so much for stopping by this YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. This is the day that I join into the $1,000 or under worship pedalboard challenge. This challenge is near and dear to my heart because I don't ever want YouTube channels like this where we talk about gear and tone to ever conflate to somebody feeling like they're unable to join in to the live worship or playing live scene without a certain amount of gear or quality of gear. Because the reality of it is there are some things that you need for worship music these days, effect wise, but you can get this at an extremely affordable price that sounds really good. So I'm going to walk through what my selections are going to be and why I'm choosing it, and give you some recommendations on how to start your board if you haven't started yet. So thanks so much again for stopping by the channel. Let's get into it. Hi, just coming in from editing actually, and I wanted to make sure that I shouted out my friend on YouTube, Modules, for encouraging me to do this challenge. I really appreciate it. I love it when people are passionate about certain videos that I make, so I just wanted to say thank you so much. That's awesome. Shout out to you. And I wanted to say as well that I am running towards the 1,000 subscriber mark, and I just want to reach that as quickly as possible to make these videos more and more accessible for me as YouTube starts paying those revenues at 1,000. So if you could help me reach that, I'd be much appreciated. Okay, so top-down camera, you're already seeing two pedals laid out here. So in my opinion, for worship specifically, you need two things: overdrive and reverb. Those are the two things you need. In my experience, I don't think I would feel quite equipped to do the task ahead if I didn't have overdrive and reverb. So here are my two selections right off the bat that will cover the bases of overdrive and reverb. And if you could only have two pedals, I could go to any worship gig with these two pedals, and I don't think anybody would notice that anything's off or I'm not bringing enough gear and effects, because the CDR does so much, and we're going to get into that. And so basically the layout of this video is we're going to make the selections, build the board together, and then I'm going to show you some sound demos at the end. So again, first two pedals, Morning Glory. So that's going to go right here. These go used anywhere from, I would say, $160, $170 to $200. So that's where we're starting with our overdrive. And as you can see, our pedal board here is a wooden homemade pedal board. Just got some feet mounted on the bottom and some tape on top. I had handles that went here, but they actually kept getting in the way of the audio cords, and so I took them off. So here's the pedal board. That was essentially free. I think the feet cost maybe $5, so take that into consideration. So here are my first two selection. So this will go right here. So the third effect that I think is really necessary in worship music is delay. Now again, I would be comfortable doing overdrive and reverb as a combo on a worship set, but a lot of people like delay even more than I do. But I set up delay always dotted eighth. I'm just a huge fan. Even if I'm not doing the dotted eighth kind of edge style, it will still be dotted eighth because I just like how rhythmic it is. And I will also set that up to be on the preset for the multi-stomp. So right now we're dealing with overdrive, delay, reverb. The third selection I think that I'm going to make that's just necessary is you can go through an amp, which is great. That's what I do most of the time. But you can also use amp and cab sims. And I'm telling you, I can't believe for the price how good these amp and cab sims sound. So it's a no-brainer for me at $40 to add the JOYO. So that's going to go right on the end here. Now, the Zoom CDR here, I think was about $250. And at the end of the build part, I'm going to add up all of the pedals retail. But the one thing that we can kind of rely on too is that the predecessor of this next generation was these Zoom multi-stomps, and I've seen these for like $60 on Marketplace. So, and they sound pretty much identical. I have a video comparing the sounds. So if this CDR breaks me out of the price range, I might just replace it with the older version because it's just awesome anyways. So third and fourth, I've got the basis covered. I would be fine playing a set with these three things going direct with the American sound, but I have space left and I have money left. So I'm actually going to add the Mythos Hephaestus, and I'm going to put that first in the chain because that's happiest first in the chain here. The Mythos Hephaestus has a very unique and sonically rich sound. When you just play one note, it kind of can bloom into a variety of things that I think sounds so good with reverb. So I'm going to add that on the board just for fun because I have a little bit of extra space and money in the budget. And then lastly, this pedal has been with me so long, and it is such a special sounding pedal in my opinion, especially grouped with the Morning Glory, and that's the Full Tone OCD. This pedal I bought so many years ago, and I've always just enjoyed the sound of it so much. So it's going to be partnered with the OCD. So my basic plan here is that the Morning Glory will be always on, and I can either go OCD for a more distorted sound, or for a more unique, maybe lead tremolo picked sound, I can go with the Mythos Hephaestus, and it works really well dialing the volume back, the volume knob back, and all that kind of stuff. So this is the basic setup of the board. So I'm going to wire it up on video because it's not going to take that long, just while I kind of chat out some stuff. So if you want to jump to the sound demos, feel free to go for it. But I'm going to show a picture actually of a pedal board while I wire this up that I took to a worship gig that I got last summer. And I think that was really unique. This pedal board was really unique because it just sounded so good. And I used a few of these options, actually more than a few on that board. And I was getting compliments just on my tone. And interestingly, when I bring out smaller boards to like gigs that, you know, I'm being hired and being paid for, and I show up with a smaller board, it can kind of be an interesting experience sometimes because people notice, especially in the worship scene, that the board that I was using was, you know, small. And I think people conflate that with unequipped, but it's just not the case nowadays. Like, you can have such a variety of sounds and a variety of tones on such a small board nowadays that, you know, you don't have to bring your space station everywhere, although that can be really fun. And I like how simple small boards can be, that I think less about, you know, what drive option am I going to use out of the 6 on my big board, rather than if I want more drive, I just click the one pedal I've set up for more drive. And I like that a lot, especially during worship when, you know, I'm not always just fully concentrating on my tone. I'm more concentrating on worship. So that's kind of the 2 cents I have about bigger and smaller boards for worship, is you just don't always need, and I'd say even go as far to say is you don't need the space stations. They're just fun to experiment with. So if you don't have a huge board, I'm right with you, and I don't always like that vibe either. So those were Ernie Ball pancake chords that I used in between each pedal. And I'm just going to break out a daisy chain to wire it up. So here we go. Start at the far side here. And so I've used this board, this actual wooden board, over the years, and I really like it. The wiring is all on top, so, you know, it looks pretty much how you'd expect when all the wiring is on top. Can get a little bit messy. Let's get in here. But again, that's just how that's just how it goes sometimes. I'm gonna try and do this maneuver here. I'll go up with that for now. Don't love doing that, but that's okay. Get the zoom plugged in here. And finally, the American sound. Okay, now nothing's powered up here because I'm powering it with the Eco Power All daisy chain, but most brands nowadays that have a upper level power supply, one spot, I used to use this one called Godlike Power All. This one's the Eco something. They're all, you know, they all are a pretty similar playing field. So here we go. Let's see what kind of, if we can power this whole thing up. All right. So just quickly before we get to some sound demos, I have 2 settings set up on the Zoom here, and it has modulate delay and plate reverb on one, which will be a more ambient patch, and then on the other I have a tape echo and a hall, which will be the more clean patch. So we're getting power and everything here, so all that's left to do, let's start with the clean patch, is plug this in. I just have to plug that into the interface. Okay, so tuner is on the multi-stomp here, if you're wondering. It's not always ideal to have the tuner this far into the chain, but in order to avoid that cost and that space, I'll work with it. Grab a pick here. So here's clean. And here's going to be our always on tone. Might start on the neck pickup here. So I could even use that all day long. I like that a lot. All right, so let's next just dial in the tape echo here. So dotted eighth. All right. So this will be our cleaner patch. I like that. So now we'll press back, move over to our reverb and dial that in. Just bump the decay way up. Okay. Turn the tape on with that. Okay, so I like that a lot. I think reality is I probably get a bit more mix out of the reverb here. And so let's hear this with our stage 2 drive here. Okay, I'm really liking that. So we're kind of getting ourselves towards being close to dialed. And how I use the Hephaestus is I just turn down my volume knob a little bit, leave the JHS on, and here's that. So here's OCD. And then here's Hephaestus with the volume down. So it's got a bit more of that unique sound, unique tone to it. So here's with the volume up a bit more. So that's when I'm picking lightly, and then I can dig in. I think it's just really fun. That's a unnecessary one to have on your rig, in my opinion. But then we can kind of just go back to settings here and go down to number 1, which is our ambient track. And we just got a lot more going on here. So let's just make sure this is dotted 8th. Oops. There we go. So let's hear that with the Hephaestus. And OCD. So I'd probably bring the delay mix down here. Modulation down. And I'd probably turn the mix on the reverb up a little bit higher too. So again, I know this video wasn't, extensive in showing my thought process throughout choosing the initial pedals, but honestly, it's just because I've used these pedals so much from when I started out until now that most of these pedals, I should say, that I just knew which ones I wanted. I kind of had to work through some different thoughts and ideas concerning which ones I was going to use. But like I said, I'll put up a full rundown of how much this costs. But ultimately, too, my final recommendation would just be that, whatever pedals you're, dreaming about purchasing, having these base level, awesome, heavy hitting pedals to, not fall back on, but to have in case you need them is never a bad purchase, in my opinion. So don't worry about, where you feel like you want to end up. Just start getting into it where whatever level that you can, whatever level you can afford, and just start making as many awesome sounds as you can along the way. So thanks so much just for tuning in and hearing me out on this. And I really appreciate it. So we'll see you in the next one.